What's going on, guys? Happy freaking Friday. All right, so I'm just turning off my cell phone real quick, and we'll get started. This, first things first, everybody that wished me a happy birthday yesterday, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That was awesome. I saw all your messages when I woke up this morning, and I cannot truly tell you how grateful I am for every single one of you. Um, as I've been very, very blessed to serve our community, to be a personal trainer for 12 years, to be a nutrition coach for 8, to be in the marketing and graphic design world for another like 14, 16. I've been involved in our local Volusia and Seminole County areas for a long time, and luckily, I've been able to form a lot of partnerships and form a lot of relationships over these last 1 or 2 decades. And just seeing the outpouring of, just love from everybody, just wishing me a happy birthday and, just sending me some very positive messages, I cannot even begin to tell you how awesome that felt um, when I woke up this morning. So, to everybody here, thank you so much. But moving forward, I believe I'm going to make this a weekly occurrence, and by all means, I appreciate your guys' feedback because last Friday, if you guys didn't see it, you guys can go check it out on my news feed on my profile. Last Friday, I came out with a Facebook Live video, just talking about it wasn't anything scripted. It was just something that was coming from the heart, and I just really wanted to discuss just the importance of supporting small businesses and just the ramifications that come about in the short term and in the long term when we have that disconnect between saying things that we want and then actually taking the action to achieve the things that we want. And oftentimes there's a disconnect there. And I really think that there was some value in that broadcast, so I highly recommend everybody go check it out. But to basically summarize it, it was basically me just sharing with you the struggles that I went through as a business owner and just trying to send some encouragement out into the community, especially with it being Friday and all of our energy being down, especially now being, summer's kicking off and kids are getting out of school and, we're sending, kids off into the world. But I really wanted to send those words of encouragement and just basically say there are things in this world that we as individuals want to see our world. We want change. We want progress. We want more positivity. We want. But then when we look and evaluate our daily lives, the things that we talk about, the things that we do, there is very often there's a disconnect there. And that is what I wanted to share with everybody last week, just so we can spend that time in reflection every single week and basically just evaluate ourselves and hold ourselves accountable and hold ourselves to a higher standard and say, hey, I have not been bringing my A game to this life. I have not been producing the greatest quality of work that I can to my spouse, my parenting, my kids, my career, my financial health, my personal health, whatever it is. Now, granted, we're not going to be perfect every single day. There's so many different things that we could be working on: finances, personal health, spiritual health, the relationship with our spouse, improving our parenting skills, other personal friendships and relationships. There's so much stuff that our society demands from us, and so many little points of interest and points of focus that we get drawn to, that a lot of the times when one area of our life increases, another one decreases simultaneously. And that's normal and that's okay. But typically, what we want as a society and as individuals that pursue personal growth and happiness is just to make sure that we understand the fundamentals on how we can keep all those categories running smoothly the majority of the time. So, but moving forward into this week's conversation, before I do these videos, I always would just like to sit here for 5 to 10 minutes and just say, because none of this is scripted, and I simply just say, all right, God, what is something valuable that I could bring the community today? What is a personal struggle that, either I've overcome, I've seen somebody else overcome, somebody else's testimony that I can share, and what is it that you really want me to talk about this week? And this past week, I ended up going through what we call survival mode. I was in survival mode. My wife went out to New York for a week, and my eye keeps itching for some reason. I don't know why, but that's irritating. But my wife went out to New York for an entire week, so it was solo parenting. I was a solo dad for the week. And granted, I got help from various friends and family members to help me out while I was at work and stuff like that. But for the most part, I had my daughter with me full time. And being someone that runs two different businesses, is working a lot of hours, trying to maintain the household, be a volunteer at his church, and just be involved in the community like I like to do because that energizes me. You can pretty much understand how I was burning out last week. And it caused me, and that was not my first time because my wife periodically, while her best friend was pregnant, she would fly up to New York periodically to go help her out and plan different events and be there for the birth and stuff like that. So I was used to it by now that my wife would go for a couple days, come back. So luckily I had that experience under my belt, so I knew from my first couple of times how to manage my energy and just to avoid the burnout and avoid that survival mode that parents like to call it when they're under peak amounts of stress. But it really caused me to spend some time of reflection and ask myself, all right, what are like 3, 4, 5 tips that I could give to parents if they are a solo parent, or if their spouse is going away for the weekend, or what are some ways, because I talk to a lot of parents every single week because predominantly I work with parents as a nutritionist. And the number one thing that I hear from parents a lot of the time is just, I'm in survival mode, I'm constantly burned out, I'm working a lot of hours, I have no energy for the gym, I'm constantly fatigued all the time, and I just can't bring my kids, I can't show them the best version of myself. And I'm like, I fully understand that. So these are some tips that I really wanted to share with you guys, and tips that I personally used to manage my energy and make sure that I didn't burn out too quickly. But the very first thing that I always like to share everybody when somebody comes to me and we have a one-on-one conversation about how to avoid burnout is understanding your list of priorities and where you're at, and be realistic with where you're at. Now, a lot of this will involve a lot of grace, but a lot of the times we as parents, we're constantly in this search for perfection and to achieve everything absolutely perfectly: our health, our finances, parenting, you know uh, keeping our spouse happy, or whatever it is. But we're constantly in this pursuit of perfection. And the reality is, hun, you're never going to be perfect. We're always falling short somewhere. Now, I know that's not going to be in alignment with the self-help gurus that are out there and the motivational speakers that are out there that'll be like, work harder, sleep less, you can do it, you're powerful, God's giving you all the power in the world. And it makes me laugh when I say that stuff out loud, because I used to be about that a lot. I used to be huge into the self-help motivational stuff, and it wasn't until about 2015, 2016 where I sort of, through the grace of God, he sort of smacked me across the face and was like, dude, like, if you could do everything on your own, there would be no reason for us to lean on God, right? So, like, you can't do everything yourself. You're not almighty. You're not all powerful. Like, humble yourself, boo boo. Like, come on now. But this is where it's so crucial. Like, when we are under peaks amount of stress, we have to manage our priorities very, very well, and that's tip number one. And so before my wife leaves, or before I know I'm entering a busy season at work or whatever it is, I list out 2, 3 priorities that I'm not willing to sacrifice when this busy season occurs, just so I can manage my stress. So typically, like, I'll do like a lot of volunteer work at my church, or I'll go hang out with friends, um, join a lot of Bible studies, or just socialize and just do other stuff, personal hobby stuff. But when it's time for my wife to go on a trip, my priorities is my daughter. First and foremost, I have to make sure that she's okay, that she has my attention, and she doesn't feel like I'm just passing her off to one of our family members or friends because, oh, daddy's got to work. Now, I understand, parents, listen before you slaughter me in the comments. I understand we have bills to pay and we have priorities. I'm not saying avoid those, but I'm saying, what is your priority? And I try my hardest. Now, I'm not perfect. So chill, people, because I know there will be people in here that assume it's like, oh, look at Taylor thinks he's perfect and he's telling us what to do. No, what I'm saying is, before a busy season occurs, I communicate with my daughter, I communicate with my wife, and I say, this is the plan that I'm laying out, but guess what? There are boundaries with my work, and that is something that I see a lot of parents or just individuals period struggling with. They don't know how to set boundaries for their work, they don't know how to set boundaries for their boss, and it is one of the biggest things that is leading to parents having burnout. And once again, there will be people that dispute this in the comments saying, Taylor, I can't, dispute my boss, I can't do this. Listen to me, every job that I've had. Now, granted, hey, I'm young. I haven't been on this planet 50, 60 years, but through the grace of God, I've lived 35 years on this planet. I've had a number of employers. I've ran my own businesses. I've failed at businesses. I've succeeded with businesses. I've worked full time. I've worked part time. I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world. But one of the core values that I've always maintained is I have utmost honesty and transparency with everybody. I do not care what your job title is. I don't care how much income you have. I don't care about the car that you drive. I am going to treat the CEO of Disney World the exact same I treat the janitor at my school or at my daughter's preschool. I'm going to treat them one and the same. So, and that boundary is established during the initial interview phase. So if you're not there, if you've already surpassed that, that's fine. But you have to form a relationship with your boss and say, these are my core values in life. And don't apologize for being honest and transparent. Like when I used to work full time at this private school before I took Taz Fitness full time, I would have meetings with my bosses. I had two bosses, the marketing director and the principal of the school that initially brought me on. And I would have lunches with them regularly. I would sit down with them regularly, and I'd be like, "Hey, these are my values. My family's my value. I'm not going to do this. I will do this. I'll negotiate on this." But they were very clear. I was like, "I'm not picking up my phone after 5 o'clock. My butt is leaving this office after 5." Like, there is just certain boundaries that you have to establish in your life, and I think that's one of the biggest hangups with people is because they get so addicted to pursuit of that promotion, or they're just in fear of losing their job. Like, there's not 10 million other jobs in the world that they can go get. Like, guys, come on now. So, and I know all this is going to get disputed, and that's okay. I'm always going to lead with, just trying to help people, and you can take everything I say and toss it out by the wayside. But following these core values of establishing those work boundaries and letting your family know in constant communication of what your core values are and letting your boss know what your core values are, it's really helped me maintain my sanity and not allow work to bleed into my personal life. And I think that's one of the biggest things that has allowed me just to maintain my own society as I've gotten older and not suffer from burnout as regularly as unfortunately other people do. So if you were just to be very strict, rule number one, just establish boundaries for your work, establish boundaries for your phone usage, establish boundaries for personal friends and when they can communicate to you, have boundaries for your in-laws. Like, you have to ask yourself, what are your priorities? And a lot of the times it's your spouse and your kids or your spiritual health or whatever, and that's awesome. But if your work and your career is second priority, third priority, fourth priority, if it's not number one, then you got to succumb those to what is number one. And a lot of the times it's your family. But a lot of the times people end up focusing too much on their career. They're living in fear of what they're going to miss out on if they're going to get fired, if they're going to get demoted or whatever. So they end up sacrificing the health of their family in the long run. And I believe that is what hurts a lot of people, because when they say they're currently in burnout, it's not a burnout from overworking, because I will debate this so much no matter, and I have to be careful with my words here, but in the technological world that we live in and how distracted everybody is and how much everybody is in this hustle grind society that we live in now, everybody is quick to say, oh, I'm burnt out from work. And listen, I have been working 50, 60, 70 hour weeks for years. I love what I do. I don't get burned out. So, how are you getting burned out on your job working 30 to 40 hours or even 50 hours? How is that possible? And listen, hey, I'm not judging you. So, everybody who feels triggered right now, calm down. I'm not judging anybody, but these are just like helpful tips that have helped me maintain my sanity and really maintain a very growing, beautiful household, in my opinion. And once again, that's not me, showboating or anything like that. Like, having a great marriage takes work. Being a great dad or a mom, it takes work. Nobody knows. Like, there was nobody that showed us how to do it. Like, you don't go to school for parenting or marriage 101. Like, the vast majority of marriages end in divorce, unfortunately. But that it's just one of those things where I've fallen short as a husband, I've fallen short as a parent, and these are just things that I've learned through books, through mentors, through just practicing random ideas that I've had, implementing into my family dynamic or my career dynamic, or whatever it is, the category that we're discussing. But these are just things that have really helped me, so I want to pass them along to you, if that's all right. So, and if you choose to do them, that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm not going to take it personally if you choose not to do it. I know I've posted these positivity videos. This isn't my first time doing it. I've done it in the past, and there's always those one or two people that just really are like very negative Nancy's, and it's okay. Like, everybody has their difference of opinion. It's all good. But yeah, no, rule number one: if you're really feeling like you're in survival mode and you're burning out, it's probably due to a lack of boundaries in your life, and then the lack of understanding what your priorities are in life. But other than that, we probably have a couple more minutes. But the other helpful tip that has really helped maintain my sanity is just really reducing my overall workflow. And a lot of times, once again, it's going to be hard to do, especially as a solo parent. But when you look at your list of priorities and what your priorities are, sometimes your health is not your priority at that moment. You're just going to, like, when my wife was out in New York for a week, I did really good on my diet for like the first 3-4 days. But day 5, I was tired, y'all. I was burnt out. So immediately I told my wife, I was like, please do me the biggest favor in the world for me. Please order a pizza, deliver it to the house, because I am tired. I'm going to eat whatever I can. At that point, it was like 6 hours that I went without eating, and I was just going to eat anything. So you really have to lead with grace and understand, like, it, you're not going to win every battle, and that's okay. Like, lead with grace, hun. You're going to make it through. And don't pick on yourself if you have junk food, if you have a couple glasses of wine, if you dive after that Hershey Kiss or whatever it is. If your personal health has to take a backseat for your own mental health, it's okay. As long as what you want to avoid is that downward spiral that we find ourselves into, and that domino effect that takes place once you make that one decision that is not going to move your health forward, or move your finances forward, or move your marriage forward, or whatever like that. If you have that one quote unquote hiccup, then that's typically when you want to stop there. And what I tell my own personal clients that I work with, I tell them, all right, you never want to, and I can't take credit for this. This is from the book Atomic Habits. Author was James Clear. Huge, great book if you've never read it. But he talks about, he says, never miss twice. That's his quote. Never miss twice. And basically what that means is, if you're going to do something that's quote unquote bad, like eat junk food or splurge on something and buy something that you really want, that you know that you probably shouldn't be buying, whatever it is, sleeping in, missing a workout, whatever it is, whatever thing that's not going to move you forward in life, he basically just talks about don't do two negative choices back to back. So don't have two junk meals back to back. Don't miss a workout and then go eat the pizza. Don't buy the splurgy item that you want to buy with your finances when you should be paying off debt, and then go eat junk food. Like, always lead that negative and break off that chain with a positive action. So that is what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, and I've adopted that philosophy into my life. So I always tell parents, get your quick win immediately. If you start to feel that guilt over something that you did, like eating junk food or whatever, then you immediately want to do something that's fast, that's not wildly inconvenient to you, just so you know you're moving the needle forward. Whether if you really want to improve your personal health, I tell my clients that I work with in the gym, I tell them take supplements, drink a glass of water, have a protein shake, eat a vegetable, drop down and do 10 push-ups, 10 squats, hold a plank for a couple seconds, stand up as opposed to sitting down. Like, just do something that is very quick, that will get you that dopamine response, that will get you that feel-good feeling that, oh, I'm moving the needle forward again, so you don't get into that downward spiral. But those are 2 tips that I really wanted to share with you guys today. I hope they're helpful for you. I know this video went a little long. I try to keep these videos at about 10 minutes because I know everybody's attention span is like, but I hope this video, if you've lasted this long, I hope this was video. Remember, establish boundaries in your life, establish what your core values are in life, lead with grace, and don't be afraid to cut certain other things out of your life just to manage your overall energy. So I love you guys. I hope you guys have a phenomenal weekend. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.